Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you now and ask that you be seated. I think I can still preside today without my cap. Would that be okay with everybody? Great. The rest of the faculty is filing in. We welcome them also. I'm delighted to welcome each of you to the historic Rutledge Chapel for the investiture of Dr. Zafer Gürdal as the McNair Chair in Aerospace Innovation and Research. You'll be interested to know that when South Carolina College first opened its doors on January 10, 1805, this building was the college. This was the entirety of South Carolina College. In fact, it was the only building. At the time, it served as the dormitory, the lecture hall, the chapel, the library, the faculty dormitory, and the science laboratory. Everything here in Rutledge Chapel. It did not house an aerospace center, though. I'd like to recognize first our guests on the platform. Mary Ann Fitzpatrick, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences and Vice Provost for Special Academic Initiatives. John McDermott, Interim Dean of the Darla Moore School of Business. Bobby Hitt, Secretary of the South Carolina Department of Commerce. Jean War, Chair of the University's Board of Trustees. Dr. Gürdal, Dean Tony Ambler of the College of Engineering and Computing, and our Provost, Michael Amaritis. I'd like to also warmly welcome the McNair Center's very generous benefactors, all prominent South Carolina business women and community leaders. Darla Moore, Carolina alumna and founder of the Palmetto Institute. Anita Zucker, chairperson and CEO of the Intertech Group. She is here today with her son, Jonathan Zucker, president of the Intertech Group, Jay Tideman, COO, and Bryce Sweat, CFO. And all of these people are deeply engaged in the state's economic development activities. And I also welcome David Popowski. And I welcome Marva Smalls, also a Carolina alumna and a senior executive at both Viacom and Nickelodeon. Her niece, Brittany Brayboy, is a sophomore at Carolina, and I was delighted to see her join us as well in the second row. And I'll share some big news from Ms. Smalls in a few minutes. In 2001, when Darla Moore established our Aerospace Center with a $5 million investment, it came with one caveat, a big one. She said to me, "I want you to name this center for a person who's better known outside of South Carolina than within." She went on to say, in fact, he's a Lake City native. I said, "Who's that, Darla?" She replied, "Ron McNair." I admit that I was embarrassed that I did not know that Ron McNair was from Lake City. I did not know that. And I immediately agreed with her that it was the right thing to do. Ronald E. McNair inspired an entire nation with his determination and his explorer spirit, and his story today inspires our McNair Center. Many of you know the story, but everyone needs to know the story. As a young African American growing up in the rural South in the 1950s and 60s, Ron found a world filled with unnecessary obstacles. As a child, the refusal to lend library books to African Americans was a huge roadblock that I'm sure he had no illusions of moving, at least not by himself. But even though he was a child, he pushed for those books because he was thirsty to read and to learn. In the end, the librarians relented, and in the end, society relented. In college, Ron McNair was told that physics might be too tough a major for someone from the Lake City public schools. Try music, they said. "You play a pretty good saxophone, Ron. And what would you do with physics anyway?" But physics is what Ron wanted, and he persevered, and his college advisors relented. He was good enough in physics that he was accepted at MIT, where he received a PhD degree. Already an amazing story, isn't it? In 1978, he was selected by NASA as the first African-American civilian astronaut. In 1984, only 17 months before the Challenger tragedy, Dr. McNair delivered a brilliant commencement address right here at our university, and I've watched it many, many times, and I commend it to you. It's very easy to find. His words inspire us today, and they will continue to. He said, quote, "The road between South Carolina and spaceflight is not a very simple one, nor one filled with any guarantees. In fact, the only guarantees to be found are those that reside in the unchallenged depths of one's own determination." He continued, "Go forth with the desire to accomplish, with the desire to contribute," and I love this, he said, "and with the willingness to fight, to accomplish, to contribute, but also to fight." I'd like to welcome this evening Mrs. Cheryl McNair. Mrs. McNair has established the Dr. Ronald E. McNair Educational Science Literacy Foundation. It's in Houston, Texas, and it helps the underserved learn science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Please also welcome Ron and Cheryl's son, Reginald McNair, who came in today from Atlanta, and Mrs. Sarah Gay, Ronald's cousin and a native of Lake City. Mrs. McNair, would you please stand and be recognized? Ladies and gentlemen. I can't tell you what it means to us to have you with us today. I enjoyed our brief meeting earlier today, and of course we'll be together this evening. In 2012, as the McNair Center was creating its own flight plan, Anita Zucker provided added lift with another generous $5 million investment that established the Zucker Institute for Aerospace Innovation. And it also endowed the first McNair chair in which Professor Gürdal is being invested today. Anita, I know, was drawn to the McNair Center because of her ongoing desire to see growth in the state's economy, especially through high-tech fields. The Intertech Group actually cut the ribbon on its TIG Hitco plant last April. This 100,000 square foot composite manufacturing facility at the Palmetto Commerce Park is expected to create another 350 jobs. I can't help but recall Anita's late husband, Jerry Zucker, who had a tremendous mind. I remember him so well, and he was also a truly innovative person. That word is used so routinely. I must have used the word innovative a dozen times already today, but Jerry was a true innovator. Earlier this year at Spoleto, it was the first time that I had an opportunity to hear in detail about Jerry and Anita's start in Jacksonville, Florida. Thank you, Anita, for sharing that. It's a truly great immigrant story on one hand and a truly great American story on the other. And now today, September 30th, 2013, Marva Smalls, who earned 2 degrees from the University of South Carolina, joins Darla Moore and Anita Zucker in the McNair Center spotlight. Marva, of course, is from Florence and has worked in public policy and politics, including working with former South Carolina Governor Richard Riley as staff director of the South Carolina Private Industry Council. Today, she continues to devote a lot of energy to South Carolina, even though she splits her time between South Carolina and New York City. I have to tell you that when I visit Marva in her New York office, and what an office it is, on the 44th floor, a tower that overlooks Times Square, I'm treated to a spectacular view. You can see all the impressive skyscrapers looking to the south and to the east, and a great, gorgeous view of the Hudson River to the west, where you could see New Jersey, and you know what that New York Magazine cover, you could see California, I think, and beyond from her office. But lest you think that Marva is surrounded by corporate trappings in her office, you're actually more likely to find puppets and dolls like Dora the Explorer and her other friends, Diego, SpongeBob SquarePants, Kung Fu Panda, and even members of the Paw Patrol all around her. They represent Nickelodeon's educational children's programming, and Marva is completely interested, I can assure you, in how they can be used to inspire creativity, learning, gender equality, and healthy eating and healthy lifestyles for young people. Marva's interests are completely compatible with Darla's and Anita's. She wants to see South Carolina become a better place. We know it's capable of that, but we need their help. She wants it to be a place where our success will not be limited to the large cities where you always hear that good news coming from in South Carolina, but also to the towns and the places that are too often left behind with that good news. And she knows if that's to happen, the youth of these small towns and places need to be ready. They need to know about better paying jobs. They need to know how to prepare for college, how to prepare for majoring and taking courses in the STEM disciplines and other majors and minors that will lead to well-paying jobs. She knows that there will be careers in the aerospace and related technology industries in this state, and she wants us to help prepare them. In short, Marva wants to see a PD and a South Carolina where thousands of boys and girls are given the chance to become just like Ron McNair. I would add that I want them to be just like Marva Smalls. So that's where the McNair Center will come in as we broaden our horizons to include a focused work and a focused workforce strategy. We will work with all entities, including our technical colleges, our new Palmetto College, and anybody and everybody to help prepare South Carolina youth for careers in the broader knowledge economy. Career preparation must begin very early and well before the college years. We'll work in particular with the K-12 schools and the PD and around the state to create more productive career paths. All of this, of course, will now be possible because, and I am pleased now to announce that Ms. Marva Smalls has pledged a gift of $1 million to the McNair Center so that we can create these career paths for all South Carolinians. Why don't we thank Marva? And it's now a great pleasure for me to introduce an alumnus and a friend of the University of South Carolina, Secretary Bobby Hitt, who in 2001, by the way, was recognized by the College of Mass Communication and Information Studies as the Distinguished Journalism Alumni of the Year. Previously, and I know many of you know this, Bobby was manager of corporate affairs at the BMW manufacturing company in Spartanburg, where, if you really think about it, that wasn't maybe the first big hit, if I might say, 1 T or 2 Ts, you could look at it either way, but certainly started a movement in South Carolina showing us that we can be a place where good jobs, skilled jobs, improve our economy. Bobby, we're honored to have you with us today. Welcome.
You know, it's always at moments like this that I wish I'd done a little bit better on my undergraduate work, considering all the talent around me in the academic sphere. It is a great pleasure for me to be here today and to be here as part of this investiture and also this celebration of the McNair Center. Mrs. McNair, thank you very much for being here with us. And Reginald McNair, who I just met a moment ago, Mr. McNair, glad to have you both here on behalf of the state. I'm proud to be able to welcome you here back to the university for this day. Harris mentioned that there was a time when I was a journalist, and for over 20-odd years, I was a journalist here in South Carolina. I came out of a journalism family and started working as an undergraduate while I was here at USC, and at a fairly young age became editor of the newspaper. In fact, on the day that the Challenger tragedy occurred, I knew that Ronald McNair was from Lake City. We had covered Dr. McNair rather extensively in his exciting career, and we all stood in tragic amazement of what happened that day. So I remember that day very, very well. And it's a fitting recognition that a pioneer such as Ron McNair, that his name would be attached to a center such as this as we launch ourselves into a remarkable new era in South Carolina of aerospace manufacturing. You know, we've had an interesting history in aerospace. We've had the bits and pieces along the way of famous aviators, and obviously I believe Dr. McNair was the second astronaut from South Carolina. There have been about 5. Some people think 6 because they try to cheat and say Charlie Duke was born in South Carolina. But we have contributed greatly as a state, and I think Dr. McNair clearly was an inspiration for that. But it's important that a pioneer such as Ron McNair's name be on this center, because we are pioneering folks here in South Carolina. It is an important job for us to do. We just need to reflect that 20 years ago, we were essentially a textile state with not the kinds of opportunities that we have today, and we have decidedly and intensely moved ourselves into a far more aggressive manufacturing world. First with automotive, certainly that was a huge impact. And in fact, when I was asked to join BMW, my first thought is that this will be an event that changes South Carolina's business history forever. And in fact, it did. In fact, my friends at Boeing will tell you and tell me unabashedly that but for a company like BMW, they probably would not have chosen South Carolina. So all of this was done by us South Carolinians, the recruiting of BMW, the success of BMW, and now the success of Boeing. Boeing is a success because everything we told them we could do for them has come true, and now they have doubled down and invested yet again in a short period of time. And we, in the academic side and in the economic development side and the broader education side, need to be ready. And so it's a great pleasure for me to be here today for the investiture of Dr. Gürdal. It is fitting that both our audience and those joining me on stage represent education, industry, and economic development, because that is the course that we are now running. South Carolina is quickly becoming a center for global aerospace manufacturing. The Ronald E. McNair Center for Aerospace Innovation and Research will help lead our state in the growth and success of this industry through research and development. Through the formation of cooperative agreements between other universities in our state and around the globe, as well as our state's technical colleges, the McNair Center represents collaboration between academia and industry. I meet with industry every day. I'm on the phone with them constantly. The needs are great, both for applied research and horizontal research, and the role of the McNair Center will play in the growth we anticipate in South Carolina is huge. In fact, I can already feel the pull just being here in the room. Centerpiece in our industry-driven event. And the creation of McNair was also industry-driven. When the idea for the McNair Center first came, there was a lot of effort to reach out to all of the aerospace community around the United States to understand what universities were doing, to travel to them and understand what role we could play. This was an industry-driven idea by the needs of aerospace manufacturers, particularly in the area of composite materials. Composites represents an opportunity for our state to participate in innovation and improvement in aerospace, and I might add, as well as in automotive in the future. The McNair Center will help us meet the industry's education and workforce development needs by offering an aerospace engineering minor, and the first aerospace engineering master's level programs in our state. Preparing our men and women for the industries that we are recruiting and will continue to recruit in South Carolina is the most important thing we can do for our success. And this center will be front and center in doing that. And it's absolutely vital to foster and support our existing talent in order to sustain this industry and ensure future opportunities for the citizens of South Carolina. I'd like to also note that as we launch into a new sector, and I know that VOC has been here for 5 or 6 years, and Alenia and the joint venture Global Aeronautics were here, but we really are just at the launch pad of a great aerospace industry. If we have the same success in the next 20 years as we've had in the last 20 years with BMW, we will revolutionize this state in so many ways. It can only be done through increased attention through education and the working together of education and industry for an outcome. So I celebrate what we're doing here today. One of my pleasures of being up here, in addition to being a part of this ceremony, is I get to introduce someone who's kind of famous. He's got a funny accent, but luckily I don't. Being from Charleston, we speak perfectly clearly. If you don't understand the way I speak, it's because you're not listening correctly. That's the way we think about it down there. No, I wanted to introduce the Dean of the College of Engineering and Computing at USC, Dr. Tony Ambler. Tony was appointed on January 1st of 2011. He beat me by 2 weeks. I didn't get in until the 13th or the 14th, something like that. He previously had been at the University of Texas at Austin, which is a pretty good school. Pretty good job pulling him away from there, I must say. There's a lot of innovation there. There's a lot of innovation to be done here. Tony gained his BSc degree and his MSc and PhDs all from the same university, at the University of Manchester, the Institute of Science and Technology. He was appointed to the faculty there until moving to Brunel University in West London. He was appointed to the Rackle-Redak Chair in Test Technology. Tony's been involved here at the university. He has excited me and a lot of other people about how to bring all of this together, and I look forward to working with him. For those of you that don't know, Tony's been fighting a good fight, and he's winning. Come on up, Tony. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the introduction. It's even stranger when the provost says that I have an accent. Thank you. I'm delighted to be a participant in Dr. Gürdal's Investiture. And I would also like to thank our generous donors, Darla Moore, Anita Zucker, and Marva Smalls. Your success is a great example for all of our students, and we are very appreciative of your willingness to give back to the McNair Center and to South Carolina. The McNair Center, under the direction of Dr. Zafer Gürdal and Executive Director Marty Keeney, is becoming a bustling hub of activity. Shortly, the McNair faculty and staff will bring internationally recognized advanced materials and aerostructures experience and credibility to McNair, as over 24 current USC faculty members are working with and adding to the total aerospace advanced metals and composites, systems and software portfolio of research discipline and capabilities. As you might imagine, this is allowing the McNair Center to quickly compete for research opportunities. Today, 3 of 5 planned degree programs are now in progress. Our master's degrees in aerospace engineering and in engineering management have the first 10 students enrolled. Our undergraduate minor in aerospace engineering already has more than a dozen students. This is great news. In addition, our system design graduate degree has been approved and will start next fall. We are very enthused that we'll soon be building an executive aerospace engineering education program which will support our busy aerospace companies' needs for future executives. I can assure you that we have every intention of producing innovative thinkers who will be well prepared to take on leadership positions at Boeing and other aerospace-related companies. You can count on this. In addition, the McNair Center is fully engaged with USC, as well as statewide and the federal government STEM programs. This will also assist existing and future generations to enter STEM careers. More great news. Plans for the inaugural McNair laboratories are formed. I believe that once launched, they will be the first complete advanced composite manufacturing and lightning response laboratories in South Carolina and will allow for manufacturing, characterization, and comprehensive testing of new forms of composite materials, all of which are based on stated aerospace industry needs. This brings me to Dr. Zafer Gürdal. This renowned researcher in the design and optimization of composite material and structures came to the university from a prestigious post at Delft University in the Netherlands, where he led the aerospace engineering faculty for 9 years. He has been the principal investigator and co-investigator of more than 60 research grants. His research contribution resulted in nearly 300 publications, and he has been the keynote and plenary speaker for 14 international conferences. He is a lifetime member and associate fellow of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, and one of the initial members of the AIAA Multidisciplinary Technical Committee. In fact, because of Dr. Gürdal's global prominence, I'm happy to report that USC and the McNair Center are major partners in a growing international consortium. More specifically, the McNair Center is the university's representative in a 9-partner international consortium that includes 3 European universities, that's the Technical University of Berlin, Technical University of Delft, and Leuven, 3 US universities, that's USC, MIT, and the University of Dayton, and 3 Russian institutions. The total project is a $50 million activity to establish a center for the research, education, and innovation at Skoltech Institute of Science and Technology in Moscow, alongside a science park which already houses many US and Western European major technology companies. Dr. Gürdal will lead this center, which will complement the McNair Center's activities as we build out our manufacturing research capabilities here in South Carolina. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Gürdal. Would you please stand beside me? Mr. Waugh, would you please retrieve the resolution? Members of the platform party, would you please join me on either side of the podium while I read out the resolution? Resolution. Whereas the University of South Carolina has established the Ronald E. McNair Center for Aerospace Innovation and Research, and whereas the President and University of the University of South Carolina now wishes to appoint Zafer Gürdal, PhD, as the holder of the McNair Center in Aerospace Innovation and Research, with the concurrence of the faculty and the university's leadership, and whereas Dr. Gürdal graduated from Middle East Technical University of Turkey with a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering and from Illinois Institute of Technology with a Master of Science degree in Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering and earned his PhD in Aerospace and Ocean Engineering from Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, and whereas Dr. Gürdal is a preeminent scholar of aerospace engineering who has published more than 120 refereed papers, 4 book chapters, and 4 books. And whereas Dr. Gürdal has delivered keynote speeches and plenary addresses at internationally recognized conferences on 4 continents, whereas Dr. Gürdal has distinguished himself as a brilliant academician by virtue of outstanding tenures at Virginia Tech, Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands, and now the University of South Carolina, and whereas Dr. Gürdal spent a year as an aerospace researcher for the Boeing Company at Boeing's Seattle headquarters. And whereas Dr. Gürdal has advised the completion more than 40 PhD students who are now located throughout the aerospace industry, whereas Dr. Gürdal holds memberships in his profession's most distinguished organizations, including Associate Fellow and Life Member of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, whereas Dr. Gürdal's prolific scholarly output and leadership role to aerospace advanced materials and structures will allow the McNair Center and the College of Engineering and Computing and the University of South Carolina to further its reputation for excellence in aerospace engineering research and education. And whereas the vision and philanthropic gestures of Ms. Darla Moore, Mrs. Anita Zucker, and Ms. Marva Smalls are propelling the capabilities of the Ronald E. McNair Center for Aerospace Innovation and Research to the vanguard of the industry and to top-tier status nationally and internationally. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the President of the University of South Carolina hereby approves appointment of Dr. Zafer Gürdal as the holder of the McNair Chair in Aerospace Innovation and Research at the University of South Carolina, with all the rights and privileges thereto remaining. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Dr. Zafer Gürdal as a token of the high esteem in which he is held. Presented this 30th day of September 2013 at Columbia, South Carolina. Congratulations, Dr. Gürdal.
Well, speaking of accents, Dean Ambler, President Pastidis, Provost Amiridis, Secretary Hitt, Deans, Ms. Moore, Ms. Zucker, Mrs. Smalls, Ms. McNair, and Reginald. I'd like to thank you very much and the colleagues and the faculty and friends. I'd like to thank you very much for taking your time and being here today with me and share the excitement that I have. I'm truly honored and humbled to be appointed to the chair of this new and important Education, Research, and Development Center. I will enjoy this event as much as possible. However, today is not about me. Today is about the stakeholders of the center. Today is about young people who may have to go to another state to study aerospace engineering. It's about entrepreneurs who would like to pursue innovative ideas. It's about engineers who would like to add value to the parts and products that they're designing, and along the way, further their education and their careers. It's about companies who will make an impact to the state's economy. It's about empowering people who have a vision. You can be assured that the McNair team will work tirelessly to ensure that the center will inspire young people from every segment of the population, provide the state of South Carolina and the nation with highly educated engineers, leaders who will find high-profile jobs inside the state of South Carolina, grow our industries, and create new opportunities for many future generations of South Carolinians. We will be doing this not alone. We will be partnering with other institutions, partnering beyond the South Carolina, such as NASA Langley Research Center. We are supporting the STEM programs which they have started, and it will excite the middle school and high school students to pursue STEM degrees. We'll do this through collaborations. We are a small team at this point, and in fact, collaboration is the very fundamental to our mission, very fundamental feature of our mission. For the McNair Center to fully realize its potential, to meet our mission and vision, collaborations with organizations across many levels, starting with local, in our departments, in our colleges, in the university, statewide, regionally, and internationally. We will identify needs of research, align efforts for maximum impact statewide. I did not know Ron McNair personally. However, I have had the privilege of knowing people who did. One of the very first congratulations came from a good friend of mine who is a professor at MIT and happens to be working in the same field that I work. He made a call to congratulate me and stated that he was a friend of McNair, as classmate of McNair, and he was extremely proud of it. He was proud that he knew Ron and is excited about Ron's legacy, and I hope the family feels the same way right now. I am confident that Ron McNair will be very pleased with where President Pastidis and the entire USC family, the generous donors, the state, and industry plan to take this innovation and research center. Finally, we fully understand and embrace that South Carolina is becoming the center of the new and rapidly growing aerospace manufacturing hub in the United States. As the flagship University of South Carolina, we have a fundamental responsibility to prepare our citizens to be ready and successful to lead this great opportunity for our state and our nation. You can count on the McNair team. Thank you again for your time and being here today.
I'd like to invite two students to come up now, if they might, in their own words, to talk about the McNair Center relative to their futures. Junior Aaron Wright, an information technology major from Charleston. Aaron, would you come up now? Aaron is a Gamecock Guarantee student. That means that he's a first generation to go to college student, and the university provides a limited number of full scholarship and technology fees for students exactly like Aaron. Let me tell you, one of the greatest experiences I have is when I can pronounce that these Gamecock Guarantee students, who I'm relatively sure would have no other way to attend this university, that their progression rate from freshman to sophomore is about 95%. Far higher, in fact, than the rest of the freshman class. So please join us, and in your own words, Aaron, would you mind sharing a few words? Let's welcome Aaron Wright.
Thank you, Dr. Pastidis. It's a great honor to be here today. As a first-generation college student, I am inspired by the intellectual pursuit and drive to achieve by both Ronald McNair and Dr. Gürdal. Being a third-year information technology major, I see the McNair Center as a stepping stone to pursue internships and career opportunities in the aerospace field. With the addition of the McNair Center to the University of South Carolina, it is without question that it will bring about opportunities that will have you seeing a lot more of myself and my peers who share a passion for this field. Thank you.
And now I would like to invite Ms. Rhea McCaslin. Rhea is working on her Master of Science degree in Computer Science and Engineering. Rhea.
I am so inspired by Ronald McNair. He fought considerable odds to have the opportunity to experience space exploration. His life clearly exemplifies that excellence, determination, and perseverance do pay off. He also had a great passion for learning, something that I and many of my fellow students share with. I was drawn to this field because of its challenging nature and potential benefits to society. Currently, I'm a researcher with the Condition-Based Maintenance Center at the university. We use and develop new technologies so that aircraft can be serviced based on need rather than a set schedule. The work we are doing here has the real potential to save money and even lives, and I am very proud to be a member of this great team and terrific program.
Before we close, I want to thank, first of all, Aaron and Rhea again. You're the reason that we're here. You're the reason I continue to have the energy to continue in this presidency. I'd like to also now invite, if they would be willing to accommodate us, Ms. Moore, Ms. Smalls, Ms. Zucker, and Ms. McNair. Would you please come up to the platform for a photograph with Dr. Gürdal, after which we'll have the recessional. Would you mind coming up, please? This is a veritable Mount Rushmore of female community leaders from South Carolina.